I am over here by the new area that I cleared and trying to grow something. The tomatoes that I was going to have climbing up the string trellis, I've had to pull all but 3 or 4 because I didn't fence this area off and because nothing was getting into it. Well, they decided to get into it, folks. So the rabbit is still around. I think I haven't seen it in a few days. The mosquitoes, I don't know if you can see the mosquitoes, folks. They and black flies, they are just merciful this morning. The deer flies, because it's 54 degrees, the deer flies really don't like that temperature. The mosquitoes really enjoy. So the last 2 days where it's been so hot, the deer flies have been horrendous. The mosquitoes they were in the shade somewhere, but now that it's cloudy and it's 54 degrees, the mosquitoes are saying, I'm hungry and I want your blood. So I have come to discover over the weekend, even though there's plenty of stuff for my geese to eat, plenty of food in their feed coop, they decided to come over here and nibble on my tomatoes. Right? That'll teach me to assume that nothing is going to get in here because nothing hadn't. So, there's that. So instead, they were nibbled right off about 2 or 3 inches from the ground. So I just took them and pulled them and I planted some pole beans. The trellis is already in place. So I just threw some pole beans in here, and like I said, there's a small handful of tomatoes over here that may do all right. Now, the tomatoes up in my garden are doing fabulous. So all last winter when I was starting my seeds, going through my seeds, in the back of my head, I heard, not as much, not as much. And I would only hear that when I was in planting mode or trying to plan out my garden. Not as much. So, a godly home, I tried, Melanie, I tried to catch your lives. It's a hit and miss, but I try. So I ran this by a godly home, and I said, I keep hearing not as much, not as much. So I planted some seeds, and sometimes I had to plant them 2 and 3, and some of them 4 times, just to get them established so they can be transplanted out in the garden, right? And all this time, I kept hearing in the back of my mind, not as much. Well, this garden season, even though I think I'm a decent gardener, I've been doing this since I was a little child. So I know how to amend the soil. I know how to make compost. I know how to plant. But it's been an upward battle. And in the back of my mind, still I hear not as much, not as much. So, whatever you believe, you can say that it is a higher power saying not as much this year, and it's going to make sure that not much produces. The universe has spoken, and the universe is putting me in my place, right? Kind of humbling. It is kind of humbling. So, I got a screw in my pocket. Right? So, not as much. Well, nature, the powers that be, the universe is making sure that I don't get as much as I feel in the back of my head. that I want. So it's a want versus a need, right? There is a reason that I had to restart my seeds. There's a reason why. Because in my mind, more is better with a lot of things. The more food I can grow, the more I can put up on my shelf, and the more food I have to eat from, right? Because I try to grow as much as I can, process it, put it up on the shelf, and then eat it, right? So, in my mind, if times get hard and I have to depend on what I grow, in my mind, I'd rather have too much on my shelf, put another shelf in, stack them up on the floor, whatever I have to do. As far as that goes, the more the better. So that was my mentality. That's always my mentality going into garden season. So when I kept hearing in the back of my mind, not as much, I'm like, we mean not as much. Food is food, and I've got to have food, and I can always give some away, right? But I kept hearing not as much. So I have come to realize, because I have struggled from the start of starting my seeds to replanting over and over in my garden, just trying to make it work, no matter how, just trying to make it work. And still, I keep hearing this voice. I'm battling black fly, folks. I am battling what I am hearing in the back of my head and my own reasoning saying, no, I've got to try to grow as much as I want. But every time I do that, replant these, putting in these pole beans here, I still kept hearing not as much. So we will see. We will see. My mind, my reasoning, my concern for what lies ahead versus what the universe is trying to tell me. So we will see, folks. We will see. How much is too much? When do you give in to that voice on your head? If it's constant and it keeps coming back, and it only comes, I only hear that when I'm dealing with the garden or seeds or transplants. That's when I'm hearing not as much. So sometimes old hippie just doesn't listen very well. And this might be a way to humble me a little bit. So, but I'm stubborn. I'm stubborn. You tell me I can't do something. You tell me I can't do something. I'm going to prove to you that I can. But when that voice in the back of your head is repetitive, then when does old hippie start listening to that voice? Well, I think that is now, but in all honesty, it's in my whole body, folks, that if something proves challenging, that's when I dig deeper. And that's how I learn a lot too, right? So when does that voice in the back of my head when do I listen to that? I think it's if something happens to these pole beans here, because I know I have done everything that I possibly can, and sometimes it's just going to be what it's going to be. no matter what you try, right? Boy, the bugs, folks. I'll give I don't know, a tour. My thoughts, what I did with my outside shower. And every year I try something new. Every year I modify and tweak things. Well, this year I started brand new. So I started all over. And right now my showers are dependent on the rain, right? If we don't get any rain, there's no shower because the rain, because I shower with rainwater, right? Rain barrel system. So, but I still shower, folks. I still wash up. There's other ways to get clean and stay clean. You don't have to have a shower to stay clean, right? So, you'll be good. Bye bye.